time for another 5-minute murder. I am going to pick a card. It's funny. So tonight we have old Rod Ferrell. So from the Kentucky Vampire Clan. It says on the back here, Rod Ferrell was born March 28th, 1980. He is an American murderer and cult leader. He was the member of a loose-knit gang of teenagers from Murray, Kentucky, known as the Vampire Clan. Ferrell claimed to be a 500-year-old vampire named Visago, a character he created for himself after becoming obsessed with the role-playing game Vampire the Masquerade. It was his mother, Sandra Gibson, who first introduced this game to Rod in 1998. In 1998, Ferrell pled guilty to the double slaying of a couple from Eustis, Florida, becoming the youngest person in Florida on death row at that time. Originally sentenced to death, Ferrell's penalty has since been reduced to life imprisonment. So there you go, Kentucky Vampire Clan. So this card here, this specific one, was actually done for Morgrat magazine. Not this last issue, but the issue before. So if you guys want to check that out, he might still have some up on morgratmagazine.com, I believe it is. Or you can check him out on Facebook. John Sorrell has that. But yeah, we did this one for the past issue. And this last issue, we did a different card, and I'll show you that because I have it right here. And that is the Reaper. And we all know you can't kill the Reaper. So anyway, but Rod Ferrell, we created that card for there, and you know it's a fascinating case. This kid, you know, said that he was into Vampire the Masquerade. From my understanding, he never really played the game all that much. He did play it, but it was really his mom that was really into the game, and she was heavily involved in it. Now, you know, this is where all this idea of satanic panic and stuff comes from. Why for such a long time people thought D&D was bad and it was from the devil, and you know, and Vampire the Masquerade got really kind of lumped into that because of the crimes of Rod Ferrell. And you know, I am friends with the creator of Vampire the Masquerade, and we had a very brief discussion about this, and you know, it was really difficult for him as the creator having something like that happen and people blaming him because of those things. And it really had nothing to do with him. Rod went and did his own thing. He found a way to, you know, develop a very small cult and get people to follow him. And he found a platform using that system to get people enticed into being part of his little vampire clan. And it really had very little to do with Vampire the Masquerade and more to do with some psychotic kid who was trying to develop a cult following. And if I remember correctly, he would go down to Florida. His girlfriend's parents lived down there. She had told him that her parents were like abusive and all this stuff. So he went down there and he ends up killing them. Right. And so, you know, it's just one of those stories that, you know, there's a lot of lore around the story itself, but that doesn't always make it true. Right. It sounds really fanciful, but it really isn't. It was really some screwed up kid that went down and decided to kill a few people. And, you know, it's sad that we live in a place, because this isn't that long ago, right? We're only talking 25, 30 years ago now. You know, this is not in the early 70s where we have, you know, the golden age of serial killing. This is in the late 90s that this happens. And so, you know, it's just, it's a crazy story, but it happened. And I think we see a lot of it because, you know, we've raised our kids in a way where they live in a fantasy land and they're not able to understand fantasy from reality. Now, again, I mean, I created Killers the card game, right? And I love Dungeons and Dragons. I was a Vampire the Masquerade player. I love that game. So, those things are near and dear to my heart. They really help me develop and grow my imagination and understanding of how to do a lot of things. Math is a huge part of D&D and Vampire. Being able to roll and add and, really use your mind to be able to figure out complex problems, right? Are all things that you cross when you're playing role playing games. But none of that is satanic. None of that is, evil, right? There is a really good bit of development now, but you have to balance that with reality, right? And understanding that this is a game, this is play, this is a place where we can go to, you know, be that person that we can't be in our regular life. But then we have to realize that there is a regular life and that we also have to live there. And so you see people that do get involved in things like this, they lose sight of the regular life, right? And because they are already dealing with serious trauma and serious challenges and they're trying to escape, because when you look at any of the killers that we talk about, they live primarily in their fantasy life. They don't live within reality. They live outside of that. And because of that, that fantasy, um, that thing that they can never obtain is so enticing that they have to go out and do it compulsively. So, it's fascinating that can happen to somebody, but does that mean that, gaming causes that? No. There are plenty of people that don't play games that go and kill people all the time, right? People have been killing people for hundreds of years, long before video games and role playing games were around. So it's definitely not the cause. We have to get at the root of what is really allowing people to do that. And it really comes down to trauma, right? It comes down to trauma and not being able to deal with or handle the trauma in your life in an appropriate way. It's why we need more programs. We need more ways for people to get help with the difficulty that they face in their life. We have to give them tools so that they don't turn to those things, those compulsive behaviors, and harming other people. So anyway, Rod Ferrell, fascinating case. Lots of lore around that, being a 500-year-old vampire named Visago, taking your vampire clan and going and killing a couple people. You know, but it's mainly that. It's a lot of lore from a kid who was really screwed up and had a lot of trauma and decided he wanted to try to control other people. There's a lot of other famous people that have tried that too, and Charles Manson is one right behind me here. When you look at some of the other cult leaders and stuff, they all deal with very, very similar things. They have that narcissistic personality that makes them want to control and dominate other people. Rod was that way on a much, much smaller scale. So yeah, Rod Ferrell, check out that story. It is fascinating. Go pick up a copy of Morgrot magazine. Get that card so you can play Rod in the game. This weekend, I will be in Lexington, Kentucky for Scarefest. I'll also be speaking there on Saturday at 1 p.m. I will be doing a talk on Into the Mind of a Killer live. So we'll be going through some different interviews with different killers. Specifically, we'll be doing Bundy, Dahmer, and Ed Kemper is who we'll be talking about. We're going to go through that. We're going to discuss what we see in those videos and kind of pick them apart and get to know those killers a little bit better. and how that relates to us. So it's always fascinating. You never know what's going to come out of that, because everybody has different things that they see, and it's all important, right? Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us for another really like uh, Mary was congratulating me for only having the last episode at like 6 minutes, and this one's going to be like 12. So, just so you know, it doesn't always happen that way. I get on a roll. So, I will see you all next week. Have a great weekend. Come see me at Scarefest. Talk to you soon.